Good morning, you guys. I thought today we would just do something really simple, and we're just going to decorate a tin can. I think pinto beans came in this that I made chili with, and I just peeled the label off and washed the inside really well. And I'm going to start off today by just putting a coat of my Waverly black chalk paint on there, just as my primer base. And I'm just going to use a dabber sponge to do that because that's what I like to use. And I don't think the light is the greatest this morning, just because I know you can see shadows in the video. I'm sorry about that. I don't have a good light yet, and the weather is very gloomy here this morning. We're getting a storm. But I'm going to try to make things as clear as possible for y'all. So let me get some paint out here. And then I just normally either use a paper plate. Also, I'm going to take my rings off because I do not want paint on my wedding rings. This is like the top of a Cool Whip container or something. And I just make sure to get my paint down here in the crack of the can where the bottom meets the rest of it. And I pretty much, when I do my base coats, unless it has like intricate embellishments or something, and even then I've typically done a base coat like on the canvas or whatever, but I just like to use a sponge. It just gives it that little bit of added texture, and it's easier and quicker, in my opinion. Okay, so I'm going to finish that up, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, I've got my base coat on here. It is still really wet. I typically don't paint the bottom. So what I'm going to do, and this is why all of my little wax tins have paint all over them, because while I'm letting something dry, I will set this down on top of there so that it doesn't adhere to the paper towel while it's trying to dry, because I have had that happen before. No bueno. And with my canvases, I will put it on like the four corners or whatever and set the canvas down on them so that the air can circulate underneath of it more, and it does increase the drying time some. So that's just a little quick tip for you guys also. Okay, so now our black primer is all the way dry, and as you can see, there is still some can showing through, and that's okay, because this is just the first of what we're going to do. And what I thought we would do is like maybe do the same like I did with the canvas before. I've got some cheesecloth here, and I am going to take some Liquitex matte medium. This is liquid matte medium. It says fluid medium. It's very liquidy. I like to use it anytime that I'm using any type of fabric, or I use it with my paper as well. So what I'm going to do is just get the cheesecloth around the can. I'm going to let you guys listen to music while I do that, and probably speed the process up a little bit so it's not too boring, and then I'll be back. Another thing that I wanted to mention to you guys really quickly before I get to putting this on the can, what I will do is just kind of, I will pull it in some areas. It just makes it irregular so that it's not the same texture everywhere. And then I'll bunch it up some in some areas and leave it flatter in others. It just creates added interest. Okay guys, so I have the cheesecloth around here and it's not dry yet, but I'm still ready to move on to the next step. I'm hoping that the camera is going to cooperate from here on out. I didn't notice in the last couple of segments that it switched the view to where it's like the smaller thumbnail, and for some reason, I don't really know why it's doing that on me. But anyway, I'm trying to get it figured out. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some modeling paste, and this one is Nature's Touch. Sorry about the glare. Any modeling paste will do. You could use crackle paste if you wanted to. Any type of, you know, texture paste or whatever you want to do. And I'm just going to use a palette knife, and I'm just going to spread this on there in a few areas just to give it a little extra texture. I'm not going to go really heavy with it. I'm just going to put it sporadically in some areas. Okay, well that was not a good idea to do it where the seam is. And as you guys can hear, I have fur babies, and of course anytime I start to record, they want to add their 2 cents in, so I just try to make it irregular. I would prefer to use crackle paste, but I am out of that at this point. So modeling paste it is. And, you know, with the cheesecloth too, if you were to use crackle paste, that would serve as an added backing for the crackle paste to adhere to, because I've put crackle paste on a tin can before when I first started doing these. It did not adhere, and even when you use a primer for it to grip onto, sometimes it still would not adhere to that either. But I'm sure if you did it on this cheesecloth over the top, it would definitely have good grip with that. Okay. So that's good. We're going to let that dry. It'll take probably a couple of hours to dry fully, and then we'll be back. Okay, y'all, so I've got this not all the way dry, but I did get the heat tool out and dry it a little bit just so that I can handle it. You just got to be careful if you're going to use the heat tool that you don't hold it too close, or you don't hold it in one spot too long, because the paste will bubble up if you do that. And also remember, if you are going to do that, the can is metal and it will get extremely hot. So be cautious when you're doing that. So what we're going to do now, I have these little shell sequin type things. Can you guys see them? Yeah. My daughter ordered them. She was into making slime a while back, and she stopped doing that, and she's just like, here, Mom, use these in your art. And I haven't yet, so I am going to take those, and then I'm going to take some mini art stones. These are art ingredients. It's by Finnabair Prima Marketing. You can find them on scrapbook.com. And I guess we're just going to make it look kind of seashell-y or what have you, because it does have the cheesecloth. And I'm going to adhere that with some Nature's Touch gloss gel. I always use that as my adhesive. I just spread it on with a popsicle stick. So we'll get that going. Also, I wanted to tell you guys, you'll see that I have a cake pan down. That's because when you use these art stones, I love them, but oh my gosh, do they make a hot mess. And they tend to like go everywhere. And I've tried doing them over like a paper plate, and it just doesn't seem to be enough. I think they bounce sometimes. So I figured I'd try a cake pan this time. Maybe it won't make such a hot mess, but we'll see. Okay guys, so this is dry now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sponge and my black chalk paint, and I'm going to put another layer of primer over it and make everything black. Alright, y'all, so now that we've got our primer on there, it's nice and solid. I did have to go back in with the sponge a little bit and dab a few areas to get good solid coverage. But I'm going to take my waxes, and I'm going to show you this one because it's in the tube. This is what they come in now, as opposed to the tins that I have. This is going to be my highlight color. My two primary colors that I'm going to scrub over the black chalk paint is Peacock, which is one of my absolute favorite colors. And then I'm going to mix that in just different areas with, this is Lucky Emerald. So those are going to be my two primary colors. And then after I get those on there, I'm going to go back in with some Blue Lagoon. A nice light pretty blue. And then that old silver. And we'll see how that turns out. Okay guys, so now that I have these base colors on here, look how gorgeous that is. And you'll see that I scrubbed them in there. I took my brush and I literally scrubbed it in there so that it went on as a nice smooth, well, it's not smooth because it's really textured, but I got even color coverage is what I'm trying to say. So now what I'm going to do, I'm actually just going to use my fingertip for this, and I'm going to take this Blue Lagoon and go over some of these areas, and I'll probably go back in with the silver and hit the shells. Okay, so now I've got all that light blue on there. It's called Blue Lagoon. Let me pull this closer. And it just brings out all that texture. So what I'm going to do now, I actually decided I'm going to use a little brush and go in with the silver and hit these shells. Okay, so there it is, finished product, and you guys can see all of that gorgeous texture. I think it turned out pretty good. You guys, you can use this for whatever. You can use it as a pencil holder. You can use it to put hair ties in. You could even put kitchen utensils in it if you wanted to, or you could use it as a vase or a planter if you really wanted to. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this project, and I will see you guys in the next video.